I'm 77. Everyone thinks I'm lonely, but I'm more at peace than I've ever been. My daughter calls it stubborn isolation. My neighbor sees a sad old man. They don't understand. They see an empty house. I see a kingdom. And I almost lost it because I couldn't explain it. Let me tell you what happened. It started on a Tuesday. My daughter Sarah and her husband showed up unannounced. Their faces were tight. They had brochures for a place called The Oaks, a senior community. Sarah said, "Dad, we're worried you're fading away in here." I just smiled. I poured the tea. I said nothing. The battle lines were drawn right there in my kitchen, not by me, by their fear. Their love, but fear all the same. They left with their worry hanging in the air. I locked the door. I walked to my study. That's where my real world was. My study is my command center. Books everywhere. History, poetry. My old drafting table had a sketch of a bird, a kestrel, half finished. Sarah sees clutter. She sees dust. I see the dust dancing in a sunbeam. Each speck is a memory. I touched a book on the shelf, Rilke, a gift from my Eleanor. She's been gone 8 years now. The ache for her is a room in my heart. I live in it. It's not a prison. The doorbell rang again. It was Mark, my neighbor. He had his tool belt. He had a pitying smile. He said my gutter looked loose. It wasn't broken. He just wanted to help. Mark is 30, earnest. He thinks every problem is a nail. "Just want to help, Mr. Alden," he said. He was already looking at my porch steps. I was 30 once, a structural engineer. I thought I could pin the whole world down with math. I saw myself in his eyes, that sure look. I let him fix a step that was loose. I knew I'd redo it that night. His charity is a language I don't speak anymore. He left. He felt good about his deed. I felt good that he was gone. But his visit stirred a memory. I sat in my armchair. The past came rushing in. 1978. A hurricane was hitting the coast. Eleanor was 7 months pregnant with Sarah. She refused to go to the shelter. She said, "This house has stood for a century." The power went out. We huddled by the fireplace. We weren't scared. We were in awe. The storm was so furious. Eleanor was present, right there in the middle of it. My arm was around her. I understood something then. Peace isn't no chaos. It's the calm inside the chaos. We gave Sarah the middle name Gail. The memory faded. My quiet house now is just another kind of storm, and I'm still not afraid at the center. Sarah escalated. She sent Dr. Evans, our old family friend. He did a wellness check. He asked about my mood. He said, "I'm fine, Henry, but isolation can look like depression." I told him I wasn't isolated. I told him I was in deep conversation with Marcus Aurelius and the ghost of my wife. He wrote a note. Later, a cheerful woman from a senior program called. The siege had started. My peace was now a symptom. I felt pressured. I decided to fight back. Not with yelling, with proof. I started a project I'd waited years to do. I pulled an old tube from the closet. Inside were plans. My design for a folly. A small, beautiful, useless tower. Eleanor always wanted one in the woods behind our house. Life got in the way. Kids, career. It got buried. I spread the vellum on my table. The lines were faded, but the vision was sharp. I started getting local stone. Mark saw me with a wheelbarrow. He went pale. He said, "Mr. Alden, please." I waved him off. My muscles burned. It was a glorious pain. This wasn't a cry for help. It was a declaration. I was building. The work unlocked another memory, a bad one. 1992. My design for a bridge over the river was rejected. They said it was too whimsical, not cost-effective. I was furious. My pride was shattered. I ranted for days. Eleanor finally took me to the site. She said, "Build it for me, in your mind. Make it perfect." We sat there for hours. We designed it in the air, every detail. It was never built, but in my mind, it's flawless. She taught me something. Some creations are just for the soul, and that's enough. I went back to my folly with new fire. This was my bridge now. Then it happened. A bright Thursday. A wall of my folly shifted. The stones weren't set yet. They tumbled. I fell. I scraped my arm. A stone pinned my leg. The pain was bright and immediate. I just lay there. I looked up at the sky through the oak leaves. I thought, this is it. This is the proof they needed. I heard Mark shouting from his yard. His panic cut the air. Not my panic, his. The cavalry was coming. My experiment in peace was about to be called a disaster. I accepted it. He freed me. He called an ambulance. He called Sarah. The story was out of my hands now. I was in a hospital bed. My wrist was sprained. My leg was bruised. The room was fluorescent. I was a captive audience. Sarah, David, Mark, and Dr. Evans stood around me. A tribunal. The words flew. Unsafe. Assisted living. Realistic. They saw a chain of bad choices. They saw disaster. I waited. I let the storm pass. Then I spoke. I didn't talk about the fall. I talked about the folly. I described the curve of the arch, the way the light would hit at sunset, how it was for Eleanor. My voice was quiet, but it filled the room. The room went silent. Sarah's eyes changed. She wasn't looking at a problem anymore. She was listening. Sarah came alone the next day. No brochures. She brought her boy, Liam. He's 10. Liam said, "Grandpa, Mom says you're building a castle. Can I see?" Something cracked open in my chest. We drove home. I showed him the collapsed wall. I showed him the plans. His eyes got wide, not with pity, with wonder. He asked, "Can we fix it?" Sarah watched us. Her arms were crossed, but the fight was gone from her. She saw the project, not the peril. She saw me. We made a plan, not to stop, to keep going, together, safely. Mark helped. He used my structural advice to fix the foundation. Sarah brought lunch on weekends. Liam was the foreman. He handed us tools. The folly rose again, stronger. We talked while we worked. Sarah told me about her work stress. I told Liam stories about his grandmother. The noise wasn't an invasion. It was an accompaniment. My solitude was never about being alone. It was about sovereignty, about choosing. Now I chose to share my kingdom. The peace wasn't broken. It was different. It had layers now. Their voices were in it. The last stone was set. We stood back, a muddy, happy little crew. We looked at something useless and beautiful. I'm 77. Everyone thought I was lonely. Now they join me in my peace sometimes. Sarah gets the difference. Mark asks me for book recommendations. Liam comes over to draw. My life got bigger. Not because I was saved from myself, because I finally let them see the world I built. Inside my walls and inside my head. The folly is done. We sit inside it. We watch the sunset paint the sky. The silence we share is comfortable. It's earned. Here's my confession. Peace isn't running from others. It's the courage to be yourself, holy, whether anyone is watching or not. You find your own folly. You build it. And then they come to understand. You build it, and they come to understand. That's what I believed, sitting there in the finished folly. But understanding takes time. It wasn't all smooth after that. Sarah still worried, just about different things. She'd call and say, "Dad, you're not overdoing it with Liam, are you?" And Mark, he'd still show up with his tool belt, but now he'd ask, "What's the plan today, Mr. Alden?" Instead of just assuming. That was progress. Then winter came, the first hard frost. The woods behind the house got quiet. Liam was back in school. The folly just sat there, a cold stone thing. That's when the old feeling came back. The deep, quiet peace of being alone in my house. I'd walk to the window and look at it. My kingdom. It felt complete. But Sarah saw the empty weekends. She saw me turning down dinners. The worry crept back into her voice. She came over one Tuesday in January, just like that first time. No Liam, no David, just her. She had a new kind of brochure. This one was for a men's shed community workshop. "I thought you might like the company," she said. Her hands were tight on the paper. I felt a tiredness then, a deep one. We'd built the folly together. Hadn't that shown her? I made tea. We sat. I said, "Sarah Gale, what are we doing?" She looked startled. I never use her middle name. "I'm trying to help," she said. "I see you alone all winter. It looks like before." "Before what?" I asked. "Before you fell," she said. And there it was, the fear. It never left. It just changed its clothes. I took a breath. I said, "Let me show you something." I led her to my study, not the folly, the study. I pointed to my drafting table. The half-finished kestrel was still there. "Your mother gave me this sketch pad," I said, "the week before she died. She said, 'Finish this for me.'" Sarah stared at the drawing. "You haven't touched it," she whispered. "No," I said, because finishing it would mean she'd never see it. This way, she's still waiting. She's still in the middle of it with me. My voice got thick. "That's not loneliness, Sarah. That's a conversation. It's just a quiet one." She didn't cry. She put her hand on the paper. She traced the line of the bird's wing. "I miss her too," she said. It was the first time she'd said that in my house in years. We just stood there. The dust danced in the winter sunbeam. She finally said, "Okay, Dad, Just that. Okay. She left the brochure on the table. She didn't mention it again. But the world has a way of testing your peace. A week later, I slipped on some ice getting the mail. Just a stupid little fall. Landed on my backside. Nothing hurt but my pride. But Mrs. Wilkins from 3 houses down saw it. She came rushing over, helped me up, fussed. By that afternoon, my phone rang. It was David. Henry, we heard you took a spill. Maybe it's time to think about a place without icy steps. It was a suggestion, but it felt like a net closing. The narrative was back. The old sad man who falls down. The siege engines were rolling toward my walls again. I felt angry, a hot, clean anger. I wasn't going to explain myself another time. I had to show them. But how? I had to show them. But how? The anger cooled into something harder, a plan. If they thought I was a frail old man who couldn't handle ice, I'd prove I could handle more. I decided to finish the Kestrel sketch, for Eleanor, for me. I sat at the drafting table. The pencil felt strange. My hand was stiff. I stared at the half-drawn wing. For 8 years I'd left it. It was our last conversation. Finishing it felt like saying goodbye for good. That scared me more than any fall. I started to draw. The lines were shaky, wrong. I erased. I tried again. My vision blurred. I wasn't crying. I was furious. At my hand, at the paper, at time. I gripped the pencil so hard it snapped. The sound was loud in the quiet room. I just sat there, the broken pieces in my fingers. That's when I broke. The hot, clean anger turned into something else. It was grief, raw and fresh, like she'd died yesterday. I put my head down on the table, on the sketch. I didn't sob. I shook. I felt hollowed out. I'd been so busy defending my peace, I'd never admitted what it cost. The cost was this. She was gone, and finishing our things meant admitting she was never coming back to see them. The doorbell rang. I didn't move. It rang again. Then a key turned in the lock. Sarah's key. I heard her footsteps. Dad? She came into the study. She saw me, head on the table, the broken pencil. She stopped. I lifted my head. My face was wet. I didn't wipe it. I can't do it, I said. My voice was cracked. I can't finish it. She came over. She pulled up the other stool. She looked at the ruined sketch, the smudges from my tears. She was quiet for a long time. Tell me about this one, she finally said. Not what's wrong, not let me help, just tell me. So I did. I told her how her mother bought the sketch pad on a trip to the coast, how she'd watched a kestrel hover for 10 minutes, utterly still in a fierce wind. She said that was us, how we had to be, still inside the storm. I told Sarah I'd started the drawing that night, and then Eleanor got sick, and I stopped, because if I didn't finish it, the moment wasn't over. She was still watching the bird with me. Sarah listened. She reached out and took the broken pencil from my hand. She placed it on the table. She saw it, Dad, Sarah said. Her own voice was thick. She saw the bird. You were there with her. That's the finished part. The rest, The rest is just you remembering, and that's okay. That was the hardest moment, her saying that. It hurt. It felt like a door closing, but it was a door that had been standing open for 8 years, letting in a cold draft. I was tired of being cold. I looked at my daughter, really looked. I saw her fear wasn't about me being alone. It was about her being alone, without me, without her mom. She was trying to fix my house because she couldn't fix that. I miss her every day, I said. So do I, she said, and for the first time we missed her together in the same room. Not as a problem to solve, just as a fact, a sad, true fact. We sat in the quiet. The dust still danced, but it felt different. The kingdom had an air, and she finally understood the language of the land. The kingdom had an air, and she finally understood the language of the land. That was the real victory, not the folly standing in the woods. It was Sarah sitting with me in the quiet, not needing to fill it. Here's what I learned, sitting here at 77. I was wrong about a lot of things. I thought peace was a fortress. I built walls of books and silence and memory, and I called it a kingdom. And it was for a time. But a kingdom with a drawbridge permanently up is just a fancy prison. My mistake wasn't loving my solitude. My mistake was believing that explaining it would diminish it. I let their fear make me stubborn. I saw their offers to fix gutters and their brochures for senior communities as attacks on my sovereignty. I didn't see the outstretched hands. I only saw the potential chains. What I should have done, years earlier, was open the gate before they felt the need to storm it. I should have invited Sarah in not to see my dust, but to see the dance of the dust in the light. I should have told Mark, the step is fine, but come see this book on Roman aqueducts you might like. I confused being understood with being managed. I thought if I let them in, they'd start rearranging the furniture of my soul. But love, real love, doesn't work that way. It asks for a tour. It doesn't demand a renovation. Eleanor knew that. She was the one who taught me that some creations are just for the soul. But she also taught me in that hurricane that the best peace is shared. I'd forgotten the second half of the lesson. I'd held on to the ache of her absence like a sacred relic, when what she'd have wanted was for me to use that love as a foundation to build new connections, not to replace her, to honor her. So my advice, if you're my age and feeling the world press in with its worried kindness, is this. Don't just defend your peace, define it for them. Show them the blueprint. Is it gardening? Is it painting terrible watercolors? Is it watching the birds? Then point to it and say, this is where I live. This is what fills my cup. Give them a job, a small one. Hand me that trowel. Read this poem and tell me what you think. It turns their nervous energy into partnership. It translates your inner world into a language they can finally hear. And for the love of all that's good, let them help you with the icy steps. Letting someone scrape the ice isn't surrender, it's strategy. It buys you the credibility to say, and now I'm going to sit alone for 3 hours with my thoughts and have them nod instead of panic. Don't perform independence. Practice interdependence. The strongest structures have multiple points of support. You still have time. Maybe not decades, but now is enough. Now is the only material we're ever given to build with. The past is the quarry, the future is the blueprint, but now is the stone in your hand, ready to be set. Your peace doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It can be noisy with grandchildren or silent with the ghosts of old loves. But make sure it's a peace you've chosen, not just a trench you've dug. And then, from that solid place, look up. See the people waiting at the edge of your woods, not with siege weapons, but with confused love. Lift a hand, wave them over, show them what you're building. You might be surprised. They might pick up a stone and help. And the wall you build together, however useless and beautiful, will be stronger than any wall you built alone. If this quiet confession of an old man meant something to you, if you saw a bit of yourself or someone you love in this story, then do this for me. Hit that subscribe button. It's the digital equivalent of pulling up a stool in my study. It tells the algorithm you want more stories like this, more conversations about living deeply at every age. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next tale. Give this video a like. It's a simple, silent nod of understanding across the miles, and it tells others this is a place worth finding. But most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell me, what's your folly? What's the beautiful, seemingly useless thing that holds your peace together? Or, if you're on the other side, trying to understand a parent or a friend who seems wrapped in silence, what question do you wish you could ask? Let's start that conversation here.